Hey everyone, welcome back to RetroBreak, and first of all I want to say a huge thank you for helping me get to 20,000 subscribers. I literally can't believe it was only 1 year ago when I was sat here doing my 10,000 subscribers special, so to grow 10,000 more in such a short space of time is honestly incredible, and I never thought that would happen, so from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. And I wanted to take a bit of time out from my regular style of videos today to actually talk a little bit about myself and just be a little bit nostalgic for once. So in this video I'm going to be talking about where I got my start with gaming. So as you can see, I've got the NES out here, I've got this amazing condition box here, I've got my original system that I played on as a kid, and I've got all the games here that I actually played as a kid as well, and these are all the original copies in their original boxes, and there's so much to get into. I'm so excited to revisit some of these games that I literally haven't played in about 20-25 years at this point, so there is so much to get into. I'm so excited. Let's get started. So my parents were clearing out their attic the other day, and my dad gave me a call and he said, "You've got a few things for me." And he brought a suitcase over and it was full of boxes, and some of those included this here, which is the original packaging for the original Nintendo Entertainment System. And since then, I brought this up here. I got my original console out of the loft in this house. I found out all of my original games that I had as a kid, and I spent a good few hours over the past week just playing through these and reliving some of my childhood memories. So I got this system when I was about 2 years old, I think. My parents got it when it was on sale in Argos, or so they've told me anyway. So this original system actually was first purchased just after the SNES had already come out in the UK, so a lot of these games were really cheap, and I'm presuming that's how I ended up with so many as a kid. I have so many favourites, and replaying them over the past few days was such a great experience because I honestly didn't expect them to really live up to my memories as a kid, but honestly, a lot of them still hold up really well today. So I'm going to pick a few of my favourites to cover in this video. Let's start with the original Mario trilogy. These three were in and out of the NES constantly as a kid. All three of them I absolutely loved. I'm not the kind of person that thinks that Mario 2 is worse than the other ones. I honestly loved all three of these, and maybe it helps that I actually got all three at the same time as well, so I never really saw them as, you know, waiting a long time between each game, or saw them as being a predecessor or a sequel to one or the other. I always just saw them as three different Mario games that I had to choose from. I know my parents loved playing the original Mario Bros when I was a kid. I've been told time and time again that they actually went to bed humming the theme tune to Super Mario, and I'm sure the first time I played this I was just mesmerised by it. I can still remember all of the secrets and all of the shortcuts that they taught me all those years ago. I played it on stream the other day, and I could just easily get all the way up to the end of World 8, no problem whatsoever. It's all just muscle memory at this point. And the physics in this game still hold up incredibly well too. It's just such a polished game considering it was one of the first ever scrolling platformers. It really does still hold up well today. And there's something really interesting with this particular version for the UK system as well, and that is the fact that it actually runs faster than it's supposed to. So the music and the gameplay is actually slightly sped up in our version of the game compared to what people got in America and Japan, which I always thought is really fascinating. And the same with Mario 2, honestly. I can still remember all of the secret warps and all of the shortcuts through the levels. Of course, as a kid, I always used to play as Luigi. I really loved the fact that you could choose between 4 different characters, and I was kind of sad that that wasn't the case in Super Mario 3 because, like I said, I didn't really differentiate between these games, and in some ways, I thought that Mario 2 was the best of the bunch because of that. It also has, of course, a load of really memorable characters, such as my favourite boss in a Mario game ever, which is Mouser. I was obsessed with Mouser as a kid, and Wart as well right at the end of the game. I just absolutely love Mario 2, and playing through it again in order to capture some footage for this, it really does still hold up. And I'm sure these days you're all well aware that it's not a proper Mario game, but it's still well worth your time. And of course, Mario 3 is just an absolute classic. I loved this one as a kid as well. I loved going into the Toad houses and finding all of the various secret power-ups. I also really loved getting to the frog suit, but for whatever reason, I could never get past that level with the water that rises and falls, and when I was playing it again to capture footage, these days I can just run through that level without even thinking about it, so it goes to show that my gaming skills have improved a little bit at least. As well as Mario, I did have Zelda, but I actually only had Zelda 2. And I didn't really enjoy it that much as a kid, but the more I played it, the better I got at the game. And in some ways, this game actually helped me learn to read, because I remember one of the first things that I really struggled with was finding out where to go, and you had to speak to the NPCs in the different towns to figure out where you needed to go in order to progress the game and progress the story. So I spent a lot of time trying to decipher this game as a kid, with the help from my parents, but I did really enjoy it, although I found it extremely difficult, and I really didn't get very far at all. I basically just kept wandering around the overworld aimlessly, and then wandering into those dark caves and just dying to literally everything that came in my path. These days, of course, I can get a lot further in the game, and I really do enjoy it. Unfortunately, I don't have the original Zelda for the NES, but that is one that I'm looking to pick up very soon. And of course, I've played it on other systems, so I know it's a great game. Now for a game that I absolutely loved back then, and these days it's one of my favourite games of all time. I've mentioned this one a few times in the past, and that is Megaman 4. This was the first Mega Man game that I ever played, and it's still one of my favourite games in the entire series to this day. Just everything about this game is so memorable to me. From the way the sky turns red at the end of Skullman's stage, to the amazing music and the really cool underwater sections of Dive Man. This game honestly has it all, and as a kid, the fact that I could choose any of the levels right from the start of the game meant a lot. It really meant that I could experience a lot of game. Even though I wasn't very good at games, I still had like 8 whole worlds to be able to explore at once, which really made this really fun to replay. And honestly, all 8 of those first Robot Masters are burned into my memory now. I could probably draw the map for all of the levels in Mega Man 4. That is how much I played that game back then. And when I did my stream the other night to show off some of my games, I actually played all the way through Mega Man 4 again, and it still holds up today as one of the best games on the system. Just like all of the other Mega Man games, honestly, but this one is my particular favourite, because it's the one I've got the most fond memories of. Another Capcom game now, and one that I haven't quite got as fond memories as Mega Man. This is Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, and as a kid I found this game unbelievably difficult, and playing it again today I still couldn't get that much further than I could as a kid. The problem is that if you die quite far into the first level, you're instantly reset right back to the start of the stage, and you have to go all the way back there again. It is kind of a slog, and it was really difficult when I was a kid, but I played that first level hundreds of times, so just like Mega Man, I can just memorise the entire start of that stage. But it is a good game once you get past that, and once you get over that initial difficulty curve, it does become really fun to play. And of course, Capcom went on to make loads of other amazing platformers for the system too. Now for a cartoon platformer that I really didn't enjoy that much as a kid, and honestly playing it now, it is kind of a mess. This is Tom and Jerry, and the levels in this game are kind of a maze, and it's really difficult to find your way around, and there's a lot of weird items that you need to pick up, but it's not really that clear what they actually do. So I didn't really enjoy this one that much growing up, and honestly these days it doesn't really hold up that well either. Let me know in the comments whether you've ever played Tom and Jerry on the NES before. These next 2 games, I have really fond memories of playing these 2 with my dad. They are Super Off-Road and Ferrari Grand Prix Challenge. Both of these games I used to watch him play all the time, and with Super Off-Road in particular, we actually used to play this one together in 2-player, and it was so much fun to go around the tracks together and collect money from winning races in order to do your cars up and get even better on the next race. I really enjoyed playing this one as a kid. Another game that I remember playing in 2-player with my dad is Track and Field. All I remember about this game is furiously mashing the buttons to try and win at the swimming competition. I don't really think I understood at the time how to play any of the other games, but I really enjoyed that one. And going back to it today, once again it's kind of like Mega Man in the fact that you can actually choose what you want to play. So as a kid there was actually a lot of really fun replay value in this one, even though I didn't really know what I was doing. And speaking of not knowing what to do in games, Both of these games here I had no clue how to play whatsoever. Defender of the Crown is a really serious strategy game set in the medieval times, and there's a lot of reading involved, there's a lot of making different choices on which castle to infiltrate, or, you know, which sort of tournament to set yourself up for and stuff. As a kid I had absolutely no idea what I was doing with any of that, and even as an adult I still really don't understand what to do in this one. And in James Bond Jr. I got to the puzzles where the spaceship's about to take off, and I could never figure out what to do there, so I saw the beginning of this game a lot, but I never actually got any further than the first level. Another one that I played a lot though, and I actually remember playing this one with my uncle as well, who's a huge fan of Simpsons. This is The Simpsons Bart versus the Space Mutants. Again, I remember not really understanding what to do, but I had a great time just running around as Bart, spray painting random things in the stage and finding out who was an alien and who wasn't. I didn't get any further than the first level, but as a kid it doesn't really matter if you're just stuck on the first level, because for me just playing through that first stage was just fun in and of itself, and I watched a lot of Simpsons growing up as well, and this game was just kind of like, hey, it's cool, I get to walk around in Springfield. Although obviously playing the game today, it's really not that much of a good game at all, honestly. Man, Excitebike, I played a lot of this one. This one I played a lot of because of the level creation feature, and honestly I think it's partially thanks to Excitebike that I actually wanted to become a game designer later on in life as well. So the way this works is you can basically create your own levels, and you can choose from any of the blocks that are featured in the single player game. I had so much fun just coming up with random level designs and then attempting to be able to finish them. And playing it today, the single player mode and the tournament mode are both really fun as well. And you can play this one on a lot of modern Nintendo consoles too, and it still holds up fairly well today. And finally, a game that I used to play a lot with my mum, and I was always amazed at how good she was at the game, and I always wondered whether I would ever be able to match her skills. Well, sorry mum, but I think I've done it. I played this one on stream as well, and I got over 120 lines. So back in the day, I could never even imagine getting close to 100, but it is so fun still to this day. I honestly think that Tetris is one of those games that will never age. No matter what system you play it on, no matter what version of the game you grew up with, whether you've played it for the first time today or you played it for the first time 30 something years ago, it's still just as fresh and fun as it ever was. And it's one of those games that you can constantly keep improving at, just like I am. Some of the things that made me really nostalgic when I booted this up was just the feel of the system and how nice it is to put the games in the slot and you can hear it crunching down, and the fact that it doesn't always turn on. Sometimes the light flickers, sometimes it comes on but there's a grey screen and you've got to wiggle the cartridge a little bit, you've got to blow on it and then put it back in like 10 times and eventually it might work. You've got to try and clean the cartridge and put it back in and wiggle it around a bit and push it up and down and try and like pull it right to the edge and then squeeze it down just so it clicks and then press the power button, and sometimes you might get a picture. That was all part of the charm back in the day, and the same goes for the controller as well. These days it is kind of painful to use this controller, which is literally just a rectangle with hard edges. My hands were actually hurting after playing some of the games that I played the other day on it. I don't know how I managed as a kid, and of course they've made much better controllers since, but the D-pad and the buttons themselves actually still feel really good today. And wow, seeing this box for the first time in about 25 years, honestly, and it being in such good condition still was just a mind-blowing thing to see the other day. I got so excited, and just seeing all the screenshots on the side and seeing the pictures on the front just made me remember why I fell in love with the NES and Nintendo all those years ago. And it's so great to actually have all of my original stuff here and to be able to play it on the original system that I played back then as well. It was actually kind of surreal going back and playing some of these games like Tom and Jerry that I have honestly not played since I was about 5 years old, and I could still remember parts of that game really clearly when I played it today. So it's been so fun to go back. Thank you so much to my parents for actually keeping all of this stuff safe. It really has been an incredible trip down memory lane. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and once again thank you so much for helping me get to 20,000 subscribers. If you want to check out my 10,000 subscribers video, then click the link up there and see what you missed out on last time if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you all very soon for the next episode. Goodbye.